What's going on, great people in the world? It is your guy, Nicholas Wilcox, your host, alongside my co-host, one and only, Johnny Mang. Johnny, say what's up to the great people.
What's going down? What's going down? It's week 10, man. Getting closer to that playoff grind. And we are here this morning, man, to make sure y'all are able to shine this week and, hopefully cross that finish line in your season-long leagues and maybe put a little extra dollar bill in your pocket here this week for some props and some picks, man. So I'm pretty pumped to get things going this week, bro.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's crunch time. You know what I'm saying? For some of your leagues, you know what I'm saying? It's second week of November now. So it's like some of these deadlines are, like league deadlines are coming up for your leagues. So double
Yeah.
check your leagues for trade deadlines and your season long leagues. Like the betting markets are starting to feel like it's a little bit more softened here and there. I got some spots that we'll talk about in terms of what I'm seeing for week 10 of the fantasy football show. We got your DFS, your props, your bets, your picks, and you know it. You're starting to say questions. We ask any questions. We'll get to them definitely before the end of the show. Unless you're George Play, where
My man. My
George
man.
Play guy, or
VIP.
someone that's been here since day one. Well, of course, we get you guys got high priority to get your questions answered. But overall, I think this slate, when it comes to all things considered, there's definitely some soft spots in the market. And this is my favorite time of the year because these are the times where now we have the data, now we have everything going to where it's like, okay, now we notice the trends, and now we pretty much going to be on players to perform based on the matchups that we see. So there's definitely some things we're seeing from all things considered, DFS side, the betting side as well. So we'll look forward to getting to you. We're gonna go through the games game by game, and then again questions in between, and then we'll drop our props for the week in between. We'll tell you guys what we like for certain sides, and I'll give you guys my props for the week, but I also have a top 3 selection where for things where I'm pretty much putting a lot of my money on, and feel confident about everyone taking as well. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. First game on the slate, we got the Niners taking on the Bucks. The Bucks are at home. Niners getting 6.5 on the road. Niners coming off the bye, and then the Bucks coming off games where I saw a stat that the Bucks have a combined yardage. They're second in the league with combined yardage overall in games. So this is probably one of the reasons why the over-under is 50.5 right now.
Yep.
And that's kind of like where things lie for Baker, Mayfield, and the Bucks. Still no Mike Evans. That's going to be after their bye, which is upcoming. So most likely coming back week 12. And it comes up with injuries. We still have Sterling Shepard. I believe he's more inclined to play versus Jalen McMillan today for the receivers in the injury report. And then both running backs are Tampa Bay Bucks still going. Obviously, the return of CMC is pretty huge. 8K on DraftKings. And in terms of the Niners' weapons, definitely helps everybody else out as well. In terms of that, Johnny, what are you seeing from this game in terms from all things considered? I'm sure you like some DFS pieces in this game, depending on how you think as game flow goes. But what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, dude. Been talking about it for the last handful of weeks, man. Like the Bucks are going to be in shootouts, and they're still playing tough even without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, man. So that's a good thing, right? And defensively, they've just been a defense that has given up a lot of plays, man, and given up a lot of yardage. And I think obviously with the return of Christian McCaffrey today, this is the closest thing we're going to see this year. This is the first time that they're all going to be on the field. I know no Brandon Ayuk for the Niners, obviously, right? But I think like they've shown that like they have enough depth at wide receiver to be able to kind of continue to keep moving in the right direction. Today, man, I'm a big Debo fan in this game right here, just because of what the Bucks have been giving up in the passing game, for sure, dude. Like a big Debo fan. You know what I mean? Like 18 plus points over the last 3 games, man. The guys like Hopkins and Mooney and Bateman. So, there's going to be somebody who's going to pop off for that for the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll see who that'll be today. But Debo's the guy that like I'm rolling with, and I think from like a game script perspective, Rachaad White, I think like he's in a really good place, obviously, because you have to think that the Bucs will probably be playing from behind. in this game. Obviously, K. Dotton is turned into a fantasy darling over the last handful of weeks after the injuries to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So that's the way like I'm looking at this game. And I think obviously Brock Purdy is 100% in play. Only did a handful of DFS lineups today, but like I initially kind of started to build, and I had Brock Purdy there, with a little small stack with Debo, so I like that. But yeah, man, like that's what I'm thinking from like the game script perspective, and the DFS side of things. I think I like the Niners obviously in this game because they're getting all their pieces back. But 6.5, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bucks were able to keep it close. I definitely think this one goes over. So just kind of to revisit, give me the Niners straight up. I'll take the over. And if someone, forced me to pick this game, which I'm not picking this game. This isn't on any of my tickets. I think the Bucks will be able to keep it within 6.5.
Yeah, you and I are thinking the same thing. In terms of this game, yeah, like I just think the Bucks have shown us, Baker Mayfield especially, has shown us that he's capable of keeping teams in his game even without some of his mega weapons available.
Yeah.
Just got the news that McMillan is playing today. So that's semi good news for the team. And in terms of receiving threats, so it'll be him, Shepard, you know what I'm saying? Cade Otton, obviously. So we're expecting Cade Otton stuff, a decent day today outside of everything else considered. 5,500 on DraftKings, like it's still a decent price. Like it's a little bit more than obviously what you've been paying for lately, but it's definitely a place where I can go to in terms of that goes. I think later on the show, I got what I got for the lock of the slate. We'll come back to this game and in terms of that, but I think also for this game, I took in one of my parlays based on just totals and points. I did take the Bucks plus 7.5. I did tease the under at 54.5. So that's where I think this game can still be, pretty competitive from a points perspective, but I still think like the 50 is still a decent play over, but 54.5, I just teased it down. That's plus 151 on FanDuel. I took it at. So if you guys like that, just as a, mini little play to put a, good amount of money on, I kind of like that in general. In terms of the other pieces in this game, yeah, CMC expect to have a full workload. Rappaport came out and said that. So I know AK at DraftKings is going to be the ultimate GPP play today.
Right? Yeah.
McCaffrey's one of those players that's just like, he can even get there without a touchdown by just getting all the receiving work.
Yeah.
We're talking about a guy that needs 24 points to pay off his price tag at 3x. 3.5 is like 29. So it's definitely a gamble where it's like, if it pays off for you, like McCaffrey looking like McCaffrey, then yeah. But I don't know. I'm not sure if the Niners need to, have to really go there with him just yet. McCaffrey, what I'm saying, coming off the Achilles, you want to make sure he's ready for the upcoming games and for the postseason now. Versus that's like your main priority because now after missing 9 weeks of the season, what I'm saying, it's like you just want to make sure he's ready for a playoff run when you guys expect to make one. So I think playing with Christian McCaffrey is definitely, a roll of the dice, but I mean, it could totally pay off in the right construction. And we can talk about that throughout the show if you guys got questions about that. Next game we got on the slate, we got the Falcons and the Saints. Falcons got, now the point spread went up. Falcons were like a -1.5. Now went up 2 points over the last couple of days. Falcons coming at 6-3 on the year. The Saints going home, fired Dennis Allen. Overall, now they have the interim coach. I think it's Rapunzel or
Rapunzel.
Darren.
We'll call him Rapunzel now.
I thought I saw a different name for him overall, but I mean, again, like I think this is one of those games where it could be a trap game in terms of it a little bit, just because the Saints everyone's playing for their jobs now. Different coaching usually always brings up a little bit more of different schemes and concepts being played for like play calling. This could be one of those trap games where it's like, again, divisional game, and it's like now the tendencies have changed a little bit. But in terms of this game, like Falcons getting 3.5 is still a little too low for me. I think it could still easily cover that. In terms of everything considered. But what do you say, Johnny, to this overall? What do you like? What do you don't like? And what's indifferent?
I like Kirk Cousins. Kirko Saints. I like him. I think he's been obviously man been playing really good football over the last couple of weeks for sure. And then Bijan Robinson, man, like I we talked about a little bit on on our waiver wire show, like finally starting to deliver for the price tag for him as far as like what we paid for him in draft. So like that's cool to see for sure. And then like I think like the most interesting thing for me in this game is to figure out like what's going to happen with the receivers for the Falcons, because obviously Drake London is a little banged up. I think we know Darnell Mooney's going to be busy for sure. He's been, absolute money, man. One of the better late.
Give me 2 touchdowns, Mooney.
Been one of the better late round picks for sure. And then the enigma that is Kyle Pitts this week. Which Kyle Pitts will show up? I think that is what'd you say?
Aren't you the Kyle Pitts expert over here, huh?
Yeah, man. I'm president of the fan club.
Sounds like you're on the train this week.
Yeah. It's being the president of the Kyle Pitts fan club is, I don't want to say what it's like trying to kind of read, but it's pretty tough. It's tough sledding, for sure, man. I just play the guy, you know what I mean, especially in season long. But for me, man, like I'm with you, man. Like I like the Falcons in this game for sure. I think there's a lot of cheaper plays when you talk about the Saints on the DFS side of things, because the Saints are on basically in a very, I don't want to say a similar boat like in the wide receiver room, but like they have really nobody in the wide receiver room. And I actually have a fantasy, my home league team actually consists of Drake London and Chris Olave. So this is like, yeah, man. Yeah, I had been on a bit of a heater, but I think that's going to slow down a little bit. And then you got Kamara, obviously, right? Like been one of the best running backs in football. And then with Carr being back today, I think, we can kind of put him back in that space again, for sure. And then the unicorn, the wild card, the Joker, whatever you want to call him, is back. Taysom Hill. As well. So I think like for the Saints, it's really a funnel offense. Like if you ask me, man, I think obviously Kamara is going to be very busy today. But I do like the Falcons and the points in this game right here. And I think like from an ownership perspective, this is one of those ones, man, where I talk about it every week, right? This is a game that's got a lot of ownership going in this game. Kamara and Bijan Robinson both coming in at around 25 for Kamara, 22 for Bijan. Not to say that both running backs in one game can't get there, but it's always a little bit tricky. And obviously, Darnell Mooney's picking up some ownership as well, and Drake London. So it's actually Darnell Mooney's not picking up ownership, actually only 5%. So that might be a place you want to get to if you're playing DFS today, for sure. But that's where I'm at. Like I said, I like, for me, what is that? What is that?
Mooney Day? I said 2 touchdown Mooney Day today. I like the sound of that.
I very well could be, man. Obviously, Lattimore, he's gone now, right? Like he's gone. He gone to Washington. So now all of a sudden, one of my boys from UT, Alante Taylor, kind of. Well, yeah, Alante from Coffee County, Tennessee. He been somebody might have been targeted a little bit, you know what I mean, as far as like from a DFS side of things. So be interesting to see how that shakes up today going against all these dogs for the Falcons.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean,
I didn't get my pick. Wait. Falcons, give me the Falcons and the points.
Yeah. Okay.
Falcons straight up, and man, this over under 46.5.
I know, tricky, right?
It is tricky because I know the Falcons can hold up there, and I'm just more concerned about the Saints. I'm going to be dramatic this morning because I'm all about drama. Let's give me the under in this one.
That's fair. That's fair to say. I got the Falcons, the points, and the over. Just because I think the Saints can somewhat make this a game. With the Carr side of things. With the unknown names, like it's different from when Spencer Rattler was playing QB. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just a little different. I think Derek Carr can still utilize these guys. I think Taysom Hill's. I think it's gonna be a game where Kamara is gonna be getting a lot of checkdowns today. I think if they're gonna stay in this game at all. So, I mean, from a betting perspective, I mean, if you're feeling a little froggy, Kamara ladder. What I mean that is like whatever his reception total is, and then laddering that up to a certain point. based on your bankroll. That's interesting for me today. In order for the Saints to stay involved, they have to definitely utilize him in terms of that goes, especially with no Olave. Obviously, Shahid's out for the year. So yeah, that's what I like for that game. Jack, I saw your question, my guy. We'll definitely get to that in a moment for sure. Just gotta get through a few of these games, and then we can get to your question, my guy. Next game, boom, boom, crap game of the week. Um, Patriots going on the road again 6.5, 2-7 on the year. Bears 4-4 after a loss on the bye, and then obviously like just looking just weird in general last week against the Cardinals.
Weirdos.
You know what I'm saying? Just the Bears, again, over under here is
Man.
50.5. There's expect to be some wind going on in
Yeah.
this game.
Yeah.
So just tread lightly. But I think in terms of like short area target guys, it's kind of makes sense for all the receivers basically across the board. DJ Moore is just one that's just interesting. An interesting play in general across all segments. I'm sure he'll probably get Christian Gonzalez treatment.
See go.
So this is a game where I mean I'm only gonna target maybe one or two pieces, but it's not gonna be something that's like gonna be like obviously high on the radar. Um, I know everyone's probably playing the Bears defense this week. I see like 35% ownership of the Bears
Yeah.
defense. So I mean that probably makes sense. It's a rookie QB and stuff, Drake May, but Drake May has looked pretty decent overall, but this is a true test for him. But what do you say overall to this game, Johnny?
Well, the one thing I'll say is we actually have a pair of rookie quarterbacks. So, Caleb Williams, man, just every time I get off the Caleb Williams train, it starts to go. And then when I get back on, it goes off. So, like, this
sounds like Calvin Ridley.
a lot like a lot of players, man, on my roster this year.
Sound like Cortland Sutton.
Oh God. Oh man. Oh God, man. But yeah, like this is definitely an under game for sure. I like Drake May, man. Like, he's looked really good over the past couple weeks, man. He's went up against a couple of defenses that aren't absolutely terrible. The Bears defense is pretty good. Bad weather, I think, for both of these teams, like, right? Like, this is kind of what it is when you play in Chicago and what it is when you play in New England. However, both of these quarterbacks are quarterbacks from, in college played in, warm weather situations. So, one thing I will call out, man, Kyle Duggar, man, the really good safety for the Pats is not playing today. So I think that could be interesting just to get really weird. You start to talk about maybe like a Cole Kmet for sure. So that's there's that. And then Darnell Wright, the really good tackle from shout out UT with a big win last night. Man, it's amazing how many UT players are in the league. Yeah, I would say so, man. Nico went down and they were still able to stand tall and actually, man, handled work, but don't get me to digressing. Talking about UT. But yeah, like I like Drake May, man. Over 18 points in all three of his starts so far, man. So like that's obviously like a really good sign. Hunter Henry, man, like I like him a lot. I think he's a really good pay down option when you start to think about tight end. And then Ramondre is probably just a place that like won't be visited a lot today. From a DFS side of things, like 5% as far as DraftKings go. So like that might not be a bad place. Like if you're just looking to kind of like get away from maybe like the DeAndre Swifts of the world, a couple of other guys like in that range, that's a pretty good place, I think, to get different, especially if the Pats are in the game and have a chance. So like, and obviously like James Conner, like what he did last week, man, right? Like that's like, you got to feel optimistic about that. And obviously you're playing him in season long.
He scored a touchdown.
Oh man. The trickiest part of this for me is which Caleb Williams shows up. If it's the Caleb Williams we've seen over the last 2 weeks, then I think the Patriots, this is a game that they absolutely can hang around in. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt this week, and I'm going to take the Pats and the points. I'm going to take the under as far as like a game straight up pick 'em. I'm going to take the Bears, mostly because they're at home and I like their skill players a lot more than I like the Patriots. But I definitely would not be shocked at all if the Patriots were able to keep this a lot closer than 6.5.
Yep. This game where it's like I'm not trying to put a lot of money on, honestly. It made my short list, but Caleb Williams made my short list for passing yards. It's just not somewhere I just don't know. Like you said, I think it should be easy. I think the line's too they are definitely too little, but I just for some reason I just don't feel like enough confidence yet. Because this game could just turn into a whole like real slugfest
Mm.
real quickly. Um, New England allows the fifth most passing yards per play. In these spots, Williams averages 253 yards. So this should be a smash spot, but it's just again like not something I want to put like a ton of money on. Throw a little lunch money on if you want, but I'm just not. It just made my short list, but it just didn't make my actual place for the week. Um, I think I'm gonna take the Bears with confidence, but the point spread is a little interesting. I'm just not really going there per se because this is a game where the Bears are going to have to win, obviously, in order to keep things afloat for their playoff aspirations. So I think that's where I think that comes into play. And if New England has any bite in them this week, this is the game where they got to get up for on the road in Chicago. So give me Bears, not the points. I think the over somehow gets here. I don't know how.
Okay.
I think Drake May has every way to get at least 18 points for New England today. Um, so that's where I think the Bears going to have to, if the Bears are the Bears, I think they could, carry this game when it comes to the point spread. I'm sorry for the point spread, but for the over. So give me the over because it's a little weak of an over, but we'll just have to find out how things lie. Um, and our guy George, one of the man of the people, is here. Of course he had to say it live. But after watching the first half of the Giants and Panthers game, he's talking about. I feel even worse for the people of the motion for this game.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
They might need to save the field before Rainer plays on it again. Dang, that's rough. Yeah, that Giants Panthers game. I mean, that's what I talked about with Johnny earlier. It's like these early games on Sunday, most likely our games are just stinkers for whatever reason. And it's like the NFL are just trying to push their product overseas. We see it. We're not idiots. We're not, frail fans over here. But yeah, next game, Denver. Getting 7.5 on the road, going to Kansas City, who are still undefeated. Getting into week 10 in these games. Chiefs are favored by 7.5. The Chiefs over under in this game is 42.5 for the game. I just smell like the Chiefs should just put a stomp out on Denver. After watching the Ravens do it last week with convincing fashion, I think the Chiefs are looking to most likely do the same thing to their division opponents, but this is a divisional game. What I do like here is the over. I think Denver, I think they're going to score more than 10 points this week.
Yeah.
I think they're going to score more than 10 points this week. I have a little confidence in that. But I think the Chiefs finally found some rhythm with Hopkins, with Kelsey, you know what I'm saying? And they got that, that engine starting to go a little bit. Kareem Hunt here. What do you like in this game, Johnny?
Yeah, man, this game right here is you already mentioned it, man. It's a division game. And I always like paying attention to like the AFC West, like over the last couple of years, man. Like even some of the teams that haven't been up to snuff have always played the Chiefs tough and tougher. And I think like this is like a perfect recipe for Denver. I feel like just because obviously what they've been able to do defensively, and I think a lot of familiarity, and I think this. I like the under in this game to start off with because I don't think there's going to be a ton of points that are going to be scored because I think both defenses are really, really elite. I do like what Kansas City was or what they were able to show on Monday night with D Hop, and that was pretty cool to see just for me. And Travis Kelsey, I think it's really started to come to life, and like the run game is there for Kansas City. So I actually one of my lineups, my DFS lineups, I actually took the Broncos defense as a pay down just because I do think that there is an opportunity maybe for a couple of turnovers for the Denver Broncos. But like, I know they're at Arrowhead for sure. I like the Chiefs straight up, obviously, but I think like it's obviously, man, like as the season starts to progress, man, like it's harder and harder for the Chiefs, man, like, to keep winning and like, obviously they're defending Super Bowl champs, so they get everybody's best shot, man. So I don't know, man. Like I like the Broncos in the points here. I think like Denver's been underrated offensively all year long. for sure. But I think they can definitely keep it within 7.5 for sure. And then like from like an ownership perspective, DeAndre Hopkins is one of the more popular plays on the DFS slate today, which makes sense. 5,300 on DraftKings, coming in about 24%. So he's one of the more popular plays. Actually, I haven't been one of my lineups. Travis Kelce, like right around 10%. Cortland Sutton at 8. So yeah, man, like I think it's probably going to be a slugfest is what it's going to be, man. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this game. This is actually outside of the Steelers and the Commanders. This is one of the games I'm looking forward to today.
All right. That makes sense. I just think that the Chiefs are at, they should put the beat down on them.
The Arrowhead smackdown.
Yeah, refs to your pocket, all that.
There's that part too.
Oh man. Going to the next game, we have the Bills and the Colts. Bills getting 4 on the road. Over under 46.5. This is a must-win game for the Colts in a way. Just the way how things are trending in the AFC. Bills win this game. They're definitely looking like I told Johnny a couple weeks ago, they are an AFC contender. I know I didn't want to believe it either, and it felt gross saying it, especially now. But it is what it is. Josh Allen doesn't have Keon Coleman this week. I know Amari Cooper is still questionable for this game, so we got to watch that for sure. I'm sure we'll get some news on that soon enough. Yeah, Joe Flacco still starting for the Colts. You're hoping that the Colts perform better than they had last week because they looked awful last week with Flacco.
Yeah,
Flacco was better than that. I know Flacco could show up better than that, but I think the Vikings were a little too much for him, and that kind of showed in the game for sure. They just could not get anything going. I felt like momentum-wise in that game, and I think going back home is going to do some good for them. The Bills just find ways to win games right now.
They have been.
The defense has just not been like. It hasn't been like wowing anyone really. They're still like middle, like they're still like 19th or 20th when it comes to total yards allowed. So it's like it's just not a team that's like they're really bending and not so much breaking. In a way, I just don't think this is the week to take the Colts. Even at home, I just don't think the Bills are just playing too hot of football. I'm gonna take Bills the points. The 46.5 is tough. But I'll take the over in this one, too. I just think the Colts are going to have to try to score some points here. Jonathan Taylor's going to have to get going in this game. What do you say, Johnny, to this overall game?
I mean, for me, man, I just think like the Bills have I think they beat up on bad teams. You know what I mean? I just think that's just what it is, man. Like, right? Like, I mean, you can't help who you play, right? Like, they've handled business for sure. I think, for me, I think obviously this has been one of the better years for Josh Allen. It hasn't been like a statistical monster year for him, but as far as from a real football perspective, I can dig it, man, for sure. Yeah, like you mentioned it, man, no Keon Coleman. I think from a DFS side of things, man, you got a lot of chalky plays here because a lot of these receivers for the Bills are cheaper, and the same thing for the Colts, right? You got Josh Downs at 6,200, Shakir 6,000, and then you got guys like A.D. Mitchell, basically mint Mac Hollins mint, which weirdly enough, Mac Hollins actually has some kind of chemistry with Josh Allen, and it is so freaking weird.
I know it is.
It's so weird, man. Yeah. Weird. It is so weird, man.
Catch a break, yo.
Yeah, it definitely is. So I don't know, man. I definitely am with you. As far as the Bills winning this game, and if the Colts even want to have a chance, it's got to be Jonathan Taylor. No question at all about it today for sure. If you're trying to jam some superstars into your lineup, then you have a couple of wide receivers here. That you can play, which, one of the things, just a quick call out is man, if you start to go up high, man, and try to look for your Justin Jeffersons and your Saquon Barkleys, you have to play one of these guys here. You have to play one of these mint guys in order to get those players in there and hope that they 2x the value in some capacity, man. So all that being said, I like the Bills, obviously. in this game, just because the Colts defensively haven't been up to snuff all year long. So give me the Bills. I would even take the points here with the Bills as well. I feel like the over could definitely happen in this game because I think the Colts should be able to put up some points. So yeah, man, unless turnovers happen galore for Josh Allen and Joe Flacco, I think they can get there to the over, man. But this should be Bills all day long. And like before we even transition, like, and what about the Bills run game? We talk about we talk about Josh Allen and how it hasn't been like a statistical monster, but like you got James Cook, you got my guy Ray Davis in the run game, man. Like it's been that part of the Buffalo Bills has been cool to watch for sure. So I just wanted to call that out.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I get it. This definitely feels like the Bills easily taking the spread, even a 4-point spread on the road. Just feels like the Colts just don't have I don't know. It just feels like after this game, it's going to feel like even more of a lost season. And eventually, I think we'll probably see it be Richardson again. I think that's going to pop up. And if they keep on losing games, it's where it's like, all right, we tried. We thought Flacco was going to be the better guy, and it just seems like this offense can't consistently go. So that's where I kind of see on that. Jack, we're going to get to your question right now. Asking about trade advice, of course. We got you. So trade question is, would you rather have Laporta, McLaurin, and Hunt or Lamb? Wait.
Yep.
I'm confused.
Nope.
Am I getting confused?
Nope. He's asking, would you rather have Laporta, McLaurin, and Hunt, or would you rather have CD Lamb, Ferguson, and Mostert? I will go with a number one supersize, please.
I think this question is a little bit more trickier because it's like you got both Dallas pieces in this thing, and then I'm looking at it from a perspective of McLaurin still has a bye in a couple of weeks, and that's right before the playoff hunt. Lamb, Ferguson, Mostert. It's just Mostert has been losing value because Achane has just been on the field a lot more and catching passes. But give me a Laporta, McLaurin, and Hunt side for the moment because I know Hunt's going to lose more value when the time comes. But I think if you're in a win now situation, that makes sense. If you're in a position where you're not, if you're in a position where this it has to be a redraft question. But I think in terms of if you got a decent enough record right now and you want to hold on to Lamb, I think that's possible too. But I think if you're trying to improve your roster overall, I think the Laporta, McLaurin, Hunt side makes sense. Untamed Music.
I like it.
Wow,
I like it.
Good for him. Good for him. So I have Jamar Chase, Brown on Thursday. I start or sit the rest of my team. No, bro. See, this is an amateur question. Come on.
Actually, no. You know what? I'm actually not. I'm not. Well, wait. I'm not actually going to jump all over this guy yet because, I think he's being facetious. Yeah, I think he's being facetious. But I think the other part of this too.
His bag, I get it.
Yeah, no. But the other part of this too, I had mentioned this, man. One of my home leagues is short benches, and so when I'm paying attention to my team and I'm like, all right, this one's in the bag, there have been points and times where I've been like, you know what, I'm not gonna drop any players from our roster. I'm gonna hang on to them so that way, I don't have to go out here and scramble on the waiver wire. So I might have to play a kicker or a defense and call it good. I think if you're thinking about that, and you kind of want to try to get ahead of some of the waiver stuff, maybe, but just to bench your whole team. The only time that something like that has ever happened was in my 7th grade intramurals when I was out there in my bag on the basketball court and everybody just walked off as I was just putting on the show. Yeah, I went there, damn it. I like it, Untamed. I rock with you, baby. I rock with you. I feel it. Flex on them. Flex on them.
How long ago was that?
Probably 30 years ago, probably.
Oh boy.
Memories.
No, I mean to answer your question, I don't think you do because I'm always a proponent of scoring as many points as possible.
Right.
Any given week because you just never know what happens on the stretch. There's tie breaks, stuff like that. And if it's points scored, you'd be kicking yourself if you had sat most of your roster and stuff, and then you're like, But no, job's never done, and crazy things will always happen. You know what I'm saying, and that's just where it goes. I just never take my foot off the gas pedal if I can. If I can help it. So Thanks, guys, for the questions. Please
Yeah.
continue to drop them throughout the show, and we'll get them to you in a timely manner. Next game, we got your boys, your Pittsburgh Steelers, 6-2. They're getting 2.5 on the road, plus 2.5 on the road. Going to Washington, Commanders, surprising the league, 7-2 on the year. Jay Daniels looking crazy, good. Over under 44.5 right now. I think for me, this game is a sneaky over under, and I love the under. I just think that the Steelers look a little different with Russell Wilson under center. We know this team is capable of not only playing great defense, they've shown that obviously. Especially, with TJ Watt, Highsmith, the usual suspects. But also I think Russell Wilson's been able to consistently throw the football a lot better than Justin Field has. And that showed, and that's why the Pittsburgh Steelers stuck with Russell Wilson all this time. Most people were all puzzled by it. Not yet. I think from the Commander side of things, Jane Daniels is looking way too good right now. But I'll say this: I'm taking your boys, and I'm taking I'm just taking them straight up. I think 25-6, Mike Tomlin's record versus rookie QBs makes a ton of sense. As much as Jaden Daniels has looked, I think there's gonna be times in this game where he'll probably potentially show how far he'll have to improve still. I think the Steelers are gonna need this game to consistently stay up top the AFC as well. Commanders, I mean, look, like they've been again, no Brian Robinson for them today. I question how they'll run against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I just think they'll have to air the ball out more than they want to today. They're still top 5 in offense this week, heading into this week, and there's a lot to say in terms of the Commander side of things. So like I said, this game smells like a sneaky over, where I think people are still deluded by how the Steelers have not scoring enough points in some games. I just think this is a spot where they can prove that they could score at least 24 in this game. What do you say about your boys in this matchup?
I like, obviously, man, I think the Steelers in this game for a couple of reasons. I think defensively, like they've done really well with mobile quarterbacks in the past. The place where they typically struggle are with those fringe quarterbacks who are like sneaky mobile, right? Like that, those are the quarterbacks that they've struggled with in the past. But I think like actually, the one area of this that like I disagree with you on is I think the Commanders will be able to run the ball because that's a place where the Steelers haven't been like world beaters this year is running the football. So like that's one place I think the Commanders will have a little bit of success today. I just think like for the Steelers, man, like the biggest thing, man, they got to do, man, is they got to be able to touch Jaden Daniels. That's like that goes without saying. Like that's got to be the game plan. And I think like when you have the pass rushing unit that they have, that they're going to be able to get to him. And this is why they made some of the moves that they made. At inside linebacker, like drafting Peyton Willis, getting PQ. Like this is why right here is like to be able to have speed on the field. You know what I mean? Like to be able to keep up with these quarterbacks. Obviously, the tight end position isn't one that like the Commanders, like Zach Ertz is 145 years old. So the linebacker should be able to keep up with him. And obviously, not on the corners, right? Like Joy Porter Jr., and Dante Jackson. We also get back Cam Sutton today. Shout out UT. So now, between him and Beanie, right? Like, definitely like, a lot of defensive backs for the Steelers, man, that can play. So I feel good about where they're at. I think George Pickens today is obviously very interesting. You already mentioned it, just the way that Russell Wilson has been playing. I think he's a very interesting play today in DFS. I have him in my lineups. I almost went a full-blown Steelers stack and went Russell Wilson, Najee, and Pickens. I think this game absolutely goes over because I think we know the Commanders are absolutely going to have some splash plays today. But I think like another place too, like for the Steelers that from the outside eye, man, is just their special teams and what they've been able to do, right? So, like, if you want to play the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, I don't hate that play because I think there's an opportunity for them to get sacks. I think there's an opportunity,
We have breaking news.
Oh, man, what do you got? I didn't get to.
Out. Ari Cooper is out today.
All right, so Khalil Shakir to the moon and Mac Hollins to the moon. But yeah, long-winded way of saying I like the Steelers in the points, like for sure. I like the over. And I think this game right here has the sneakiest potential to shoot out on the slate for sure. With that $200 million defense, Steeler fans think we should be pitching a shutout every week with that defense we got. Man, we're giving up, I think, like the second most points in the league, and like we're all freaking out about it. You know what I mean? So
$200 million defense. Oh boy, that's funny. But yeah, just makes too much sense. I think this game is gonna be very competitive though, so it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to watch. I think it's like probably the best
game of the week, man.
I think it's the best 1 o'clock game I want to see.
Yeah.
Overall, so it makes sense. Going to probably the crap game of the week because there's so much changes happening throughout the week. Minnesota 6-2. They're a 4-point favorite on the road going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville 2-7 on the year. We pretty much know like the thing that's happening here. Trevor Lawrence potentially out for the season now. With the shoulder injury now. At first it's kind of like a day-to-day thing. Now it's a little more serious. Congratulations on picking up Mac Jones. I spent $13 on Cooper Rush, but then heard that Dak Prescott might be out for the season. So
I told you at the beginning of the year, man, I'm fantasy world. I'm cheap.
I wonder what your wife thinks sometimes.
She's like, I wish he'd bring that same budget to our real life.
Is that what you really said?
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%.
God. So Vikings getting 4 or -4 on the road. Going to Jacksonville now, starting Mac Jones. Brian Thomas slated to start today. Overall, he was questionable coming in. He was banged up a little bit last week. Didn't do as much last week for fantasy owners in general. Yeah, I mean, look, it's just this game is just it screams Minnesota all over it in terms of how they've been playing. Like Jaguars defense is one of the worst in the league via the pass, and this team just doesn't have so much. I don't think they're gonna have too much fight in them today, honestly. I just wish Travis Etienne got traded at the deadline. That would have been great.
You tell me about it.
Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Jade, what do you say about this crap game overall?
KOC! We back, baby. We back. We back. We back. You mentioned the Jaguars defense. I'm gonna give you something to think about.
Please. Not really, but go ahead.
The Jacksonville Jaguars
are
good at defense if it doesn't pertain to tackling, running, and stopping people from scoring. With that being said, I'll take my shots on Aaron Jones. I'll take my shots on Jay Jets. Take my shots on Jordan Addison, the Hawk. Take my shots on him, Sammy D. Like, I think, like, yeah, this is one of the games, man. Like, for sure, like, I don't know how the Vikings would lose this game. Is what I would say. Like, I think, like, obviously, man, playoff contender, they're, trending towards making the playoffs right now and just kind of not really going all the way backwards, but like a couple of alt lines, and maybe I'll talk about them a little bit later on, but this is definitely a game where you talked about it last week or a few weeks ago with the Eagles where, like if they didn't beat the Giants by more than 10, like you wouldn't consider them a contender. I think we're in a very similar situation here with the Vikings that like this, they should win by double digits. So this is definitely a game I feel comfortable with. And like from an ownership perspective, and makes me nervous. Aaron Jones, almost 30%, almost 30%. Woo, makes me nervous. Jay Jets about 10, Sammy D 10. Right, like those are the plays right there. Like overall, like if you really wanted to get nasty, you could go with Mac Jones. Which I think this is an interesting spot for him, right? Because I think there's a lot of people, here in New England that just felt like he didn't get a fair shake on how the situation went with him, right? But I think like he gets at least 2-3 players that are from a skill position that, have some game, right? Like when you think about Evan Ingram and when you think about obviously Brian Thomas, like, and then ATN or, like, so I think this is going to be, it'll be an interesting game just to kind of evaluate Mac Jones to see where he's at. So when you think about like from a DFS side of things, like I might even just go back and just take a quick peek just to see like actually how cheap he is, because maybe that's a way you can, I don't want to say get different, right? But like, the game script, realistically, they're going to have to be throwing the football in this game. So like it'll be interesting, man, for sure.
Tyrone Tracy, 32-yard touchdown run.
Oh my God, Dave. Listen, you know what the worst part about all this is, man? It's like the last handful of weeks, my Scott Fishbowl team finally decides to come together as I'm the worst team in the division. You know?
Ain't that about a thing?
Ain't that about a female dog?
Told people to buy Tyrone Tracy for this game, and that looks really good right now. It did not start out great at all. It didn't start out great at all. Trust me, it was terrible. Yeah, like 2 carries.
You were complaining, griping, or getting your old man griping.
I love when I complain because it usually turns around for me.
Love it.
Going to the 4:00 games now. Titans getting 7.5 on the road for the Chargers. Titans 2-6 in the year. Chargers 5-3. Being at home. Over-unders, they gross 37.5. We've seen the Chargers throw a little bit more these last couple games, especially since the bye. But I do think this could be a game where the script can go back to running the football a little bit more. Titans are allowing the fewest pass yards, via QBs. Receiving yards for the season. They are a pass funnel defense, though. So that's something that's also somewhere where I think Herbert can still have success. He is 5,200 on DraftKings. He's probably the chalk right now for value, which makes sense because he's just been throwing the ball a ton more. When we look at the box scores, it's like he's thrown at least 28 passes or more in four straight games. So Herbert's just been that guy, and he's still only 5,200. But yeah, I like you said about the Jaguars, I think it's interesting if we want to take Mac Jones for the value because we know we'll probably get him at very low ownership. No one's going to play Mac Jones.
No.
And I think that's where I think I'm inclined to potentially change my opinion on taking Mac Jones as well, because it's like 4,400. What are we really expecting here? I know the Vikings are going to keep on pressuring stuff like that, but I think honestly, like, does Mac Jones have the ability to keep this game even close? It's totally possible. He needs 15 for 3.5x, so it's interesting. But for the Herbert game, and Herbert side of things for the Titans, this would be a game where Will Levis is starting, and Will Levis is starting, and I don't think he deserves to be starting right now, but they have to see what they got in the young kids still. I think Mason Rudolph has, he hasn't looked like the best. He hasn't looked like a world beater, but he's looked a lot more, fundamentally sound at QB than Will Levis has like all year long when he started. So give me the Chargers and the points. I'm not sure if the over is going to hit here, honestly. I'm just don't know if I want to take it. It's just because I know the Chargers could, they've proved that sometimes offensively they're not as dominant sometimes offensively. But in terms of, the Titans are a pretty decent defense in general. So, Johnny, we say overall this game, I mean, I'm sure you like a certain side, but go ahead.
I refuse to pick the Titans anymore the rest of the year because they have single-handedly burned me in every aspect possible. So, yeah, I was going to go there, but I'm not going to go there. I was going to say I can't even go to the bathroom. They burned me so bad. The Chargers, can't. The Chargers for sure, man. I think obviously they're turning into more of a complete team, man, kind of right before our eyes, right? And it was one of the things I had talked about during the off season just with Justin Herbert and Harbaugh, right? When your best player is your quarterback, even if your philosophy is you want to be able to run the ball, at some point in time, you have to be able to adapt. And I think Harbaugh, I think it's happening right now. J.K. Dobbins, still looking like $1 million, man, looking spry for sure. And the Titans have just been a completely different team when Will Levis is playing quarterback, not for the good, right? The only thing that I will say is, I know, I had it. like obviously Calvin Ridley's been balling the last couple of weeks, like since they've traded DeAndre Hopkins. But like it's hard for me to get behind anything like former All Pro D back Ladarius used to be good Sneed. I don't think he's playing this week. So yeah, he's out for this week. So I think obviously even if you wanted to say like, hey man, like Ladarius Sneed, he hasn't necessarily lived up to the hype, since he signed with Tennessee. So yeah, man, I agree with you on this. I don't know how the Titans get there. And like, I think obviously the Chargers are going to want to run the ball. I'm still playing Justin Herbert though, man. Like he's actually my quarterback in my DFS lineup this week. So I'm still playing him just because, I think he's at like 52 or 5,300, I believe. 5,200. Yeah, 5,200, right? So like I'm cool with that, man. If he goes out, those for 240 and a couple of touchdowns, like I can live with that, right? Like that's 2x for sure. Yeah. So yeah, man, like overall, like give me that. And then like from an ownership perspective, I got to going off my rant. Oh, is he getting busy? Lad McConkey. Oh man, how many?
127 yards.
Oh, I thought you said 227. I was like, oh my god. Yeah, like Charger pass catchers are definitely really popular today. Lad McConkey, Will Dissly, like really nice punt play at tight end for 3K. So another mint guy, like if you're trying to jam stars into your lineups, that's definitely a good place to go. Obviously, all you got to do is get,
You said Dissly, right?
Yeah.
3,100 on DraftKings.
Yeah, 31. Yeah, and then you got Calvin Ridley, which I'm just kind of scared to go there. J.K. Dobbins is a really good pivot, in my opinion, from a lot of the running backs that are, right around that price range. If you wanted to pivot to Dobbins, I absolutely wouldn't mind that at all. Like he's 7%, and he's 7,200, and you got a couple of backs that are in that 7K range. I think a lot of people obviously will be getting the Brees and Bijan like we talked about, so it might be a nice little pivot and a nice little pay down. But yeah, man.
Yeah, I get it. I think from this game, yeah, I mean, I thought about Lad 5,900, but it's definitely a GPP play.
Yeah.
Especially because we don't think this game is gonna be competitive. Like,
yeah,
and Lad's not gonna get as many layup targets as we think. It only takes is one for Quentin Johnston to really get one down deep. We've seen that before. 4,900 is definitely someone I would probably play if I need someone under 5. But I think from this game is not so much I'm in love with. I think I'm looking at someone that I think that really will be hopefully a little bit more involved this week at a cheap price for running back. Tajay Spears at 4,700 in this game.
Yeah.
It's because I think, if they have to come from behind, like, I think Will Levis has at least shown the ability to get Spears the ball. They want to limit Pollard a little bit more. I'm not ready to take any under props for him, though, because 59 and a half rush yards for Pollard is still somewhere where he could totally get to.
Yeah.
But again, this game is just, I don't know where exactly I want to go with it, honestly. So I'd rather just stay away. If I had to pick a side, though, it's obviously the Chargers. Probably give me the points as well. They looked really good against Cleveland last week. And probably give me, because I'm an over guy, just give me an over, whatever. Next game, the New York Jets going on a road, 3-6. They went from being this line turned from like a plus 1.5 Jets to now minus 1.5 Jets. Going to Arizona 5-4 a year, leading the NFC West division right now. Crazy. Over under 46.5, 425 kickoff time. Yeah, look, this is one of those classic spots where Jets going from east to west. Man, this team, man, I'm just very turned off by this.
That's right. They aging you.
They are. They have. Yeah, I mean, look, from the Jets side of things, the Cardinals are a susceptible defense. Like, they really are. But they've been playing really good football lately. I think Rodgers I just think that him, at least we know, again, we're still in a situation where we know where the ball is going to be going. Adams, Garrett Wilson, and everybody else. No Lazard, he's on the IR. Michael Williams got traded. So there's a lot to love when it comes to a condensed standpoint. Brees Hall, obviously. There's a lot to love about the offensive side of things because we know where the ball is going to go. Pace wise, we're still moving at a pretty slow snail pace. So 46 and a half seems like a lot. So I think I'm gonna take the under in this game. I do like, Kyler Murray against the Jets defense should be interesting because we'll find out if we're prepared and ready to take on, someone like this, a dual threat quarterback like this. We did early on in the year somewhat with Lil Levis, but he doesn't run as much. And that was a game that was like, back and forth a little bit, just condensed down because of the pace. So I think that's where I'm going to take my guys. I think we have to keep on winning in order to keep any hope alive. A win here keeps us within that range of like, all right, like there's opportunity still for the probably like the 6th or 7th wild card spot in the AFC. If things keep on going how they're going, but I'm more optimistic, but very cautiously optimistic. So, what do you say, Johnny, to this game? Think the Cardinals are going to win?
Oh, what?
Johnny? Yeah, you were questioning.
Man, like it's like I think this is definitely like a Jekyll and Hyde for like both teams, right? Like,
Totally.
it really, it really is, man. Like, the Jets,
green and red today.
he's silly. Yeah, like the Jets, like I like Brees Hall in this game, man. I think this is a good coming out spot for him, man, for sure. I did consider, potentially trying to stack up the Jets in this game. But like also too, man, in the desert, man, weird shit happens out there in the desert. And right now the Cardinals are leading the West Division, but Vanilla Ice is back today, CMC for the Niners. So like a lot can change really quick, man. Like in that division. As much as like I really want to go against you and take the Cardinals, I just don't think I can. I don't think I can. Like I think the Jets are just in a better position. I think defensively, they're a little bit better. Like they have some pieces to be able to match up with the Cardinals. And I think like everybody in that locker room knows what time it is, man. Like the playoffs have started now for the New York Jets. So I think there's like it started now. It started now for him, man. And then Arizona, man, giving up 242 passing yards per game. But they've done a nice job over the last handful of weeks with a couple was it Tua and Caleb Williams and Herbert. So like they've done a nice job, right? So I think this one, did you take the over or did you take the under?
I took the under in this game.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, like, I think this one might have the under written all over it, man, for sure. But like, I think this is a place where Garrett Wilson, man, I think like that's a play that like I really like this week, man. If we're talking like from a DFS side of things, I really like that.
Yeah.
For sure. And then like I just like I said, I really like Brees Hall, man. Like in this matchup, I think like this might be a week where we actually get like some RB1 production from him for sure. And then like Trey McBride, like it hasn't panned out the way that we wanted it to. But I think that's everywhere with tight end this year. So maybe, I mean, he's not garnering a lot of ownership this week. So maybe, if you want to get a little bit different at the tight end position, you could do that for sure. And then, yeah, man, like that's really it. Like this is not a very intriguing game to me. Like this is like, nah. But yeah, I know, obviously,
I have a little bit more skin in the game in this one.
Yeah,
yeah. I starting Kyler, and I'm playing against some Kyler this week, so I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah,
I don't know how to feel about that. Do I start Herbert now? It's over.
Better stop being a fan.
I know. I've started Murray constantly, so that's why I say that. But yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, I'm taking my guys because we gotta keep winning, and the under in this game because it just feels like one of those 4 o'clock slow pace games.
Yeah,
where it's like not too many points are gonna be scored, but probably enough
Yeah.
You'd be like, all right, makes sense, to take the under. We gotta get to George Play's question because he is an exclusive guy of our show. Exclusive. George Play, our guy, needs help in a standard league, obviously. Starting one receiver and a flex. The usual suspects are on the board: DJ Moore, Brian Thomas, Waddle, McMillan, Pearsall, Mason, Bucky, and Bigsby. I think for talking about one receiver, man, we're gonna have to wait a little longer because if Tyreek Hill's out, I want Waddle.
Chuba Hubbard touchdown, by the way.
Woo! Running backs are going off this game. Yes. So I win either way because I was stuck between Tracy and Hubbard to start. Which one was I start? Hubbard is having the better game today, but I have started Hubbard in our Yahoo league, like all year long. So
yeah, that one's falling apart at the seams. That one's falling apart. That one's falling apart.
That one's falling apart. He said,
"Yeah, it's falling apart."
Oh man. Want to trade?
Yeah, I'll never trade.
We wait too long. So happens we wait too long, though.
I say, well, you know what's funny? Like,
now.
Wait. I say it's falling apart. I mean, I'm 4-5, and there's like 6 teams that are 4-5. So really,
you're with it. Yeah, you're in it.
I'm all right. I'm cool. I'm cool.
Right, I'm right there with you at 4-5.
Cool.
I gotta keep pace after a couple weird losses in that league.
Yeah,
it is
cool.
What it is.
Cool.
But to get to the question, we got to sidetrack.
All right. Digressing like crazy.
But I don't know. If Tyreek Hill is out, definitely Waddle is a major beneficiary of it. Moore and Brian Thomas will play on 1 o'clock, and then it doesn't seem like he has many options for the 1. So DJ freaking Moore, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And then Brian Thomas, like, is he healthy? Is he healthy and good enough to go? Like, I have no idea. Just give me DJ Moore. This connection has to come up sooner or later, right? It has to, right? It has to.
I mean, one would think.
One would freaking think. And then for the flex, man, I want to say Waddle because it's like, but you don't really have a backup option right now.
No.
And then it's like, do we go take Bigsby, who's going to have some decent workload today? Do we go with Pearsall or McMillan from that game that could potentially go over? I don't think Mason's going to be so much of a factor today to start, especially in standard. Maybe he gets a 1-yard plunge, maybe because the CMCs, want to keep him healthy. But this is definitely a little tougher than it has been in weeks past, just because of the underperformances of these guys. What I'm going to say is I'm going to take DJ Moore. I'm going to take Brian Thomas. But what do you say, Johnny? Because I don't know about Tyreek Hill playing or not playing. I know that game over under for the Rams, we'll talk about a little bit. There's over under 50.5. So it's just tough. But what do you say, Johnny?
Yeah. See, I like Brian Thomas. I agree with you on that right there. Like I said, man, like I couldn't get Caleb Williams right if I tried. So like obviously if I tell you don't play DJ Moore, that means he's probably gonna go off for 40. I think DJ Moore and Jalen Waddle are one and the same, right? Like I think the only difference is it's like we view DJ Moore as a number 1 wide receiver on the team, but like obviously Waddle's a number 2 wide receiver on the team. But I think they both have underperformed for the entire year. So I think when I started to think about like what would I do, I kind of look at this as like the lesser of 2 evils and think like, to your point, like you have a pretty good game environment. You have a really good game environment when you talk about the Dolphins and the Rams versus, a game that has the potential for, or Vegas is saying 36 or 38 with the Bears and Pats. So I would say, man, give me Brian Thomas and Waddle. Those would probably be my 2 plays. And I would just close my eyes and hope to God that, maybe Tyreek Hill don't play and Jalen Waddle gets featured and is able to stand upright throughout the entire game, man.
I get it. Totally get it. Totally get it. Good takes. Eagles, Cowboys. Boy. Look how far we've come. Eagles going on the road to Dallas. We're Dallas. At home, I've been a mess.
Shit, at home? They've been a mess everywhere.
I know that, but especially at home. But, yeah,
Except for in Pittsburgh, that was the only place they wasn't a mess. But
the
go
good news
figure.
is for them, Micah Parsons comes back. The bad news is Dak is out probably for the rest of the year. CeeDee Lamb should be going with AC sprain. Cooper Rush starting at quarterback. He is 5-1 against the spread in his career. So he has knowledge of this offense, this system, stuff like that. So I mean, the Eagles, man, like they've been whooping ass. Dare I say a trap game? No. Dare I say a trap game?
Man,
Look, we've seen crazier things happen, right? And I could just be just like a little bit, in my head about it a little bit. But I think Dallas, they got to find some way to get this, not to keep this game competitive. It'll be interesting to see. I think Cooper Rush is gonna keep them steady, steady Eddie. But I think the Eagles are gonna definitely win this game. Because I've been on them last several weeks and they've been performing.
yeah.
I did, however, take this game. I think Dallas is going to have some type of competitive, they got to compete a little bit in this game. They have to. So I took them at plus 14.5 for a tease down spot. And I did the over. So what do you say, Johnny? This? Am I going cuckoo, going off the deep end type of thing? Or
I got love for you, and I love your hot takes, man. I think this is just
that's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put that. Thanks, buddy.
I'm going to rein you back in a little bit, man. I'm going to rein you back in a little bit here. We talking about I'm gonna quote your boy. We talking about the Dallas Cowboys. They couldn't stop a nosebleed right now on defense. And you got this high-powered Eagles offense coming to town. Man, with Cooper Rush, man, Amari Cooper banged up, man.
I know, right? He doesn't look good.
Man, the only highlight of this game might be potentially a Micah Parsons sack for the Cowboys, man. And you know what? I'm just gonna go for about 90 seconds and just go on this. First of all, play anybody but Dallas Goedert, which obviously he'll probably smoke the slate this week. But play anybody, but they're all good. Devontae Smith's good in this spot. AJ Brown is obviously good in this spot, but AJ Brown in the the weird little nagging injuries has been a pain in the ass for sure.
Oh yeah,
especially in these spots where you think he's definitely going to smash.
Definitely.
So there's that.
I know the pain.
Yeah, against the Jags. Come on, man. What are we doing, man? What are we doing, man? If I could just get through one slate, dude, with people not getting hurt and not giving me zeros, dude, I would be cashing, man. It sucks so bad. Oh my god, bro.
I mean, swimming.
But yeah, man. This is what I was gonna say, and then I'll just stop because I don't want to even spend a lot of time on this game. It's gonna suck for the Cowboys because they're going to be so bad that they are not even going to be able to be in the market for a quarterback. And Shedeur Sanders is probably going to end up staring them right in the face.
That's crazy, yeah.
After, everyone's pay Dak, which they should have, obviously. I don't think it was the wrong move to pay him.
I don't think it was the wrong move either.
It wasn't the wrong move, right? But, it's just, ironic how these cards are going to end up playing. Is that, and Prime is, the one place he would love for Shedeur to go would be Dallas, and having CeeDee Lamb there right out the gate
or something like that, right?
Yeah, he said earlier in the year he said 5 spots. Don't you? Hell, it might be the Jets. Why you trying to be funny?
Nah, he might coach. He might coach him. Who knows?
Oh man. Anyways, yeah. It's just so bad for the Cowboys right now, right? It's
bad.
Yeah, it's bad, man. So shit.
But my team is bad.
Yeah, at least your quarterback is upright. Right now, they're the Jets from last year. Is who they are. That's who the Cowboys are. They're the Jets from last year. So, yeah, I'm done ranting about them anyway. So,
so you got the Eagles. You got the points today.
Man, dude, I even actually I alt teased and moved it up to. I think I might even moved it up to 8.5 or maybe 9.5. Actually,
yeah. Beat down spot for the Eagles makes sense. Go Jalen Hurts.
Right.
Need him to go ballistic today, so let's do it.
Yeah.
Got Sunday night and Monday night, and we got the props before we get out of here. All right, Lions. on the road again, getting 3.5 on the road, going to Houston. This is probably like the game of the week overall in terms of competitiveness. Texans are 6-3 on the year, while the Lions have lost one game this year. 49.5 is the over-under. I think it went up to 51 at one point. I think there was going to be news about hopefully Nico playing. He is questionable coming in. They did take him off the 21, the IR list officially. So yeah, like there's a lot to like in this game. Like we got Sonic and Knuckles for the Lions.
I love that, man.
Dave
I love that.
Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs tandem. Again, hopefully we get Nico Collins back tonight, especially for one of my leagues. Being selfish.
Love it.
But for CJ Stroud's purposes as well, because he has not looked great without Nico Collins. He has looked really trash lately. But gets a Lions, Lions defense that's been more improving, but they're still susceptible. Tank Dell is also questionable with the back injury, but he's expected to play. So at least Stroud is potentially getting some of his weapons back. Obviously, no Stephon Diggs because he's out for the year. What do you say to this game overall, to the game of the week?
Man, like the Lions are the Lions outside of the Chiefs, man. Like you can make a case that like the Lions look like the best team in football, man. Like even though they have the one loss, like if you take that out of the picture, like you could very easily say that they're the best team in football, man. And I think tonight, I think they're going to show that they are just that. Obviously, man, like we got to find out about Nico Collins, right? Like playing, and you mentioned Tank Dell, but like there's also some other injuries as well for the Texans that might not be necessarily spotlighted. Second year standout Will Anderson, he's out. So like on the defensive side of things, but you're going to need that going against this Lions team. He's not playing, so that's just another injury just to call out as well. But yeah, man, I love the Lions in this spot, like for sure. Jameson Williams is back this week, man, from his 2-game suspension. Like they had freaking Khalif Raymond and Tim Patrick out there, doing their thing. And I always say, man, like this is, I shouldn't say I always say, but like this is a spot like for me, like for Jameer Gibbs, like this is a big game. This is like these are the games where like they like to utilize them a lot more. So like I wouldn't be I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a lot more work than he typically does, for sure. Although David Montgomery has been really good this year. Hadn't scored in 2 of the last 3 games, so I think things are starting to slow down for him. So if that's starting to slow down for him, I think you see a lot more Jameer Gibbs. Jared Goff has obviously been in the games where they've needed him. He's been on fire playing. And I think you're right with CJ Stroud, man. I think it's a second year thing, right? Like it's a second year thing. Like with a lot of quarterbacks, man. Like I remember Ben Roethlisberger, the same thing happened to him. His second year, like statistically, it wasn't as great as his first year. So I think that's just what it is, man. And hopefully the Texans can get things turned around overall, man, because I still love this team. I think they're a really good team. They're a young team. I like DeMeco Ryans. I like what he's about. But overall, man, like I'll take the Lions. I'll take the points. I think this one definitely can get there in the over for sure. Obviously, the only thing I would give everybody kind of like a caveat for is if you're playing on FanDuel. Obviously, this game is eligible for the main slate, so you really can't think about a Jared Goff or a Jameer Gibbs for sure. And then obviously we have to wait to get the information about the superstar Nico Collins for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, totally. I got the Lions. They've just been playing like way too good in terms of this game. Like they're battle tested already too. This team is just playing with a lot of bravado, and that comes from Dan Campbell. Comes from the top going down. And Jared Goff's just playing mistake-free football, whether it be home or away, whether it be home or not. Like it's just like Goff is just playing like tremendously good football, and it's just gonna be hard to stop. So I got the Lions. I'm taking the points. I just think Houston's not trustworthy right now. Even this offensive line has looked a mess too.
They're like the worst 6-3 team in the league, though, right?
Yeah, no, it feels like this team should not be 6-3 right now. Times because of the offensive line is just really shaped form and like how we thought they reviewed last year. I think they overachieved the offensive line for sure.
Definitely.
So now it's like in CJ Stroud, we know he's a statue quarterback, so it's I think there's a universe where Houston could still potentially win this game
Yeah,
because they
yeah,
get some of their weapons back and everything. But I'm just gonna take the Lions. I think they could again. We've said this about the Lions the last several weeks. They know how to beat you in several different ways. If they get any type of wave of momentum in this game,
it's over.
yeah, it's like there's a
It's
lot of
over.
yeah.
It's over.
Makes sense. Monday Night Football. You got an intriguing one. I'll probably
Yeah.
be more inclined to watch this a little bit because of the scoring, hopefully. Miami coming in 2-6, going on the road to Los Angeles, a homecoming for Jalen Ramsey as he used to play for the Rams, as well. Stafford versus Tua. You know what I'm saying? Chan versus Kyron. Tyreek versus Cooper Cup or Puka Nacua. There's a lot of pieces for this fantasy overall wise on this matchup. Tyreek Hill, we know is game time decision right now with the wrist. So that could change a lot of things for a lot of us in our matchups potentially. But type of this game, I like the Rams easily. I just don't think the Dolphins are gonna. This is just it feels like almost a lost season now for them, just because of the Tua injury and stuff. And now it's like they're really behind the eight ball. And if they lose this game, it's definitely pretty much donezo. I think for the Rams, they're thinking the same thing though, because if the Rams don't lose this game, they could lose a little bit of the legway for the rest of the NFC. Johnny, what do you say overall?
Yeah, this is a really interesting one for me, man. Like I think this is a place where like I would actually feel comfortable taking the Dolphins in the points because I think they have to play for something, man. Like this is in my opinion, man, like this I don't want to call it a trap game, but this definitely feels like a game that like you are definitely going to get the Dolphins best punch here because they have so much to play for still. And I like the over in this game, but I if Tyreek plays, then I definitely like the Dolphins with the points for sure. But man, like what a weird year for the Dolphins, man. Like what a weird year overall. And then like the other thing too, man, is just like what the Rams like they give up points and they give up yardage, but like they're obviously going to keep doing their thing. So I think this is absolutely going to be a fun Monday night game for sure. So you got two teams that really, one team that's playing for, the division lead or potentially for the division lead, depending on how things shake out this week, right? And then you have another team that's literally fighting for their NFL season, which they played a really no such thing as moral victories in the NFL, right? But like they definitely played a really good game against the Bills last week. But man, yeah, I'd say, like I said, I don't want to say Tyreek is like the ultimate equalizer for me in this game, but I think like we all know what that offense, looks like without him. So if he's on the field, I think you still have to respect the speed because it's a wrist injury. It's not a lower body injury. So if Tyreek plays, give me the Dolphins with the points, but I'll take the Rams straight up and the over.
Fair enough. Yeah. Definitely the Rams and the over as well. It makes too much sense here at this spot. What we got now is we're gonna go through lock of the slate here. In terms of like what we think can be helpful for your DFS lineups this week. I'm gonna go first. I got George Kittle, 5,800 on DraftKings. Simply put, the Bucks give up second most fantasy points to tight ends, and the Niners throw the ball to tight ends a lot. They're second most when it comes to these matchups. So I like George Kittle, 5,800. He should easily 3x his salary today. Touchdown, and also going to take the over for him as well on the Nick prop shop along with Debo. Both of those guys' lines are a little too low for receiving yards. Even with CMC coming back, he should potentially just be overall when it comes to both of these guys as well with CMC just opening things up a lot for this offense. Makes a ton of sense. Last week on the prop shop, overall we're 60-42 on the year. So getting to that 60% mark, which I like, gotta get that 65% mark. We went 9-2 last week, so we absolutely killed it in terms of the props. So gonna go over to 1 p.m. props. Then I got a few 4 o'clock ones. So top 3 plays is a new addition where I feel confident about these top 3 plays to take singles to parlay them up. Ironically, I have a 3 leg single game parlay here that I love for the top 3 plays. So you can take them single, you can take them together. I love the Daniels over 223.5. Probably got to 225 now in some books. I saw like 221, 223. But it doesn't really matter. When it comes to Daniels and when it comes to McLaurin, we know both of these teams as well, and that's why I put Russell Wilson here. And Pickens you could potentially put in as well. But I had to go with 3 that I feel really
Yeah.
confident about. And like I said, I think this game's an over/under that's very sneaky. In terms of being 44.5. When it comes to this, both teams, Pittsburgh and Washington, they both play single high coverage. They're first and second when it comes to the league in single high coverages. Daniels top 5 in yards per attempt against single high. The last 3 games, Steelers have allowed they've allowed QBs to go over this. The last 3 for QB, but the last 5 as well, and that includes the Colts game where Flacco and Anthony Richardson went over. The Daniel Jones game on Monday Night Football, the last time we saw the Steelers, they had Aaron Rodgers, Aiden O'Connell go over this line. Obviously as well as Dak. So Daniels to me should be pretty locked in, loaded when it comes to this line. This pairs up with McLaurin because, like I said, the single high coverages. McLaurin earns the 6th most yards for single high coverage. And then, like I said, Russell Wilson, same thing along with George Pickens. Russell Wilson, he overall is, he's had that since he started. He's been hitting this line with ease in back-to-back games since he started. So this makes a ton of sense when it comes to the top 3 plays for the week. The 1 p.m. props, Bijan Robinson, my guy, over 70.5 rush yards. This makes too much sense. The Saints rank 31st in run defense. They allow the 3rd most rushing yards per play this year. New Orleans ranks bottom 5 in tackling. While Bijan Robinson ranks 3rd in broken tackles.
Recipe for success.
I mean, that should be a gimme there. So hopefully we'll make sure it makes sense. But yeah, I already got to the Kittle and Debo selection. Like I said, highest yards per attempt when throwing the tight ends, and the Bucs allow 2nd most in the league. With the Debo, it's a more of a usage play if anything else, because with Ayuk out for the year, should be Juwan Jennings playing today as well, but CMC is also back. So I think Debo hits this line with ease. He's hit this line the last year they played these teams with pretty much similar pieces involved and similar players. So I definitely love both of these guys. Like I said, Kittle is the lock of the slate for me on DraftKings on 5,800. What else I got for the 1 p.m. slate? I got a double with Swift over 71.5 rush yards. If you feel a little more comfortable with the rush and receiving, makes sense. Swift has hit this line in 4 of the last 5 games. He missed the last game, but he definitely should hit this one. New England is bottom 5 when it comes to rush defense, and the Pats have allowed this in 5 of the last 6 games. Roma Dunze, over 37.5 receiving yards. I seen 39 initially. I think I took that 39, but now I see that 37. I think Roma Dunze is 1 play away from easily hitting this line. He's been the guy that's been, getting the rapport with Caleb, if anything else. It hasn't really been DJ Moore as much. Keon Allen, he still gets targets, but it's like he also hasn't really had that rapport. It's been Roma Dunze. And as we know with rookie receivers, and rookie players in general, they only get a little bit more usage as the season goes. They get more acclimated. So this could be this could be and should be the game where Roma Dunze should have at least a decent play down the field. If we're talking about DJ Moore potentially pairing up with Christian Gonzalez, like that leaves open for Roma Dunze as well. And then final one that I didn't get a chance to add for whatever reason, and I'm gonna add it live right now, and that is Kareem Hunt over 69.5 rush yards. Kareem has seen 4 straight games of 20 carries or more. Gets Denver is like, they've been a decent defense against, overall, but they've had some really cupcake matchups. Obviously Derrick Henry ran all over them. And I think with Kansas City, I think they're going to want to establish Kareem Hunt, and they want to just continue to run him until Pacheco comes back. And then that's where Pacheco can also take some of the load as well. I think for Kareem Hunt's status, I think if he wants to still have a decent role, with the 1-2 TM when Pacheco comes back, I think this definitely is a line that could definitely be hit on for sure. So that's what I got for the 1 p.m. props. Before I get to the 4 o'clock, Johnny, you want to tell us your lock of the slate for DraftKings?
Well, we fishing in the same pool because you like George Kittle and I like Debo.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's the play for me. Like I think this week, like no question. But if I wanted to be a little bit different, I would say like I'm trying to obviously, man, jam Saquon Barkley in any of my DFS lineups. Going against the Cowboys, man, my fantasy MVP. Yeah, so that's what I think. Like the Dallas Cowboys have been terrible against everything defensively this year. And Saquon Barkley, a man on a mission for sure, just to show people that he still has gas left in the tank. Obviously, after making the highlight play of the year last week in that Jags game, all in on him. So Saquon and Debo were two staples in my DFS lineup this week because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been in shootouts all year long, and this just feels like a game that now Debo gets the opportunity to kind of run. I don't want to say run free, but he's going to have the ability to not be the central focus of the defense now with CMC back. And if he's completely healthy, then obviously that focus has to shift to McCaffrey, which then in turn gives Debo the ability to be able to run free a little bit for sure.
Totally. It's just a usage perspective, like we talked about earlier. Target shared, the last game we saw Debo was 33%. He got targeted on his routes as well. So yeah, it just makes too much sense. When it comes to the San Francisco 49ers today. Saquon, obviously, 3 on DraftKings. Yeah, you could, if you want to jam him in, I have no problem with that. Because Saquon, he always does Saquon things and plays Dallas. So, another division opponent that he don't like. So, we could definitely buy into that narrative as well in terms of that. For the 4 p.m. props, we got a couple. I got a double of the Jets. I'm either going to love myself or hate myself for this one. Garrett Wilson, over 69.5 receiving yards. Simply put, Garrett Wilson saw 82% route participation without Lazard. And obviously now Mike Williams is out. So I expect that line to even go up even more. He's hit this line ever since the New England game. Ever since the Denver game, he's hit this line. He's had at least over this with ease. With Breece Hall, this is more of a get right spot for Breece Hall in terms of how this goes. It's just a perfect matchup we talked about earlier. Cardinals allowing the 10th most rushing yards this year to opposing running backs, and 5 different ones have gone for at least 70 or more, including Achane, who went off for 90 plus a couple games ago. But I went a little safer just to go with the rush receiving because we know Breece Hall could still be operating as a receiving running back in this offense, like we talked about before. It's more about, Breece, it's a condensed funnel for this Jets team. And we seen him a couple games ago go for over 100 receiving yards. So just to go safe, I went with the rush and receiving on this one. And then J.K. Dobbins, over 62.5 rush yards, gone down a little bit based on your book. Still love J.K. Dobbins here because of the game script flow potentially that we'll see. It's just due to the Tennessee offense, like I said earlier, was a team that is still a pass funnel in terms of how in terms of how the football goes. So, what did I say? The Titans have allowed the fewest pass yards per game this year. So that's where I think the Chargers can implement their run game, especially that focus with Dobbins, and then Gus Edwards potentially playing this game as well. But I think Dobbins could easily hit this line. Like I said, less stacked boxes because of Herbert throwing the football the last 4 games. So I think that opens up a little bit more for Dobbins today in terms of how that goes. So that was a 4 p.m. slate of games. If you guys want Monday and you guys want Sunday night football, props as well, or Monday, hit me up in the DMs. Gladly give it to you free. Like, not going to ask you for anything at the moment. Like, unless we get this show bigger, then we'll have to talk business, or if you guys want to get on the show, whatever. That being said, Johnny, any final thoughts for today or upcoming?
I mean, I think like my final thoughts, like, man, if I just take a look at everything, I think this is a week that we find out a lot. Obviously, I'm going to go right to the Steelers and Commanders game. I think we find a lot out about both of these teams right here. Like, I think you can make the argument that both of these teams could be one of the top 2 to 3 teams inside of their conferences. So I think, I'll be dramatic as I always am. We could say, hey, man, like this could be like a a dark horse preview of the Super Bowl if we really wanted to be really dramatic, right? I think you could say that. Which rookie quarterback this week is going to show up between Drake May and Caleb Williams? I think that's an interesting piece that's kind of going underneath the radar. We got the return of CMC. You got that, and then obviously the primetime game, man. I think the primetime game is going to be a lot of fun with Detroit and Houston. That one right there, like those are, it's a matchup of two playoff teams right there. So overall, man, I'm just looking to see, like, my final piece is, like, I just want to see how healthy Christian McCaffrey is. I want to see how healthy he is, and then like I said, man, this Pittsburgh and Washington game, like, this is the game right here for 1:00, I think, for a lot of fans. So yeah, man, that's my final. Oh, well, not my final thought, actually. I'll give you guys one more. I know Nick gave some props, and I said I was gonna throw one out there this week as well, just to keep it $1.50 with you guys. But I got an alt line prop for 4 games here. I got the Steelers -1, so I got the Steelers winning. I got the Falcons with 6.5 winning, Vikings 8.5 on the win, and the Eagles at a -8. So I feel pretty good about that one. Obviously, I think if you wanted to take the Steelers out of it, I feel like those other 3 are pretty solid locks if you're just looking to make a little bit of money back. So I figured I'd call that out.
No problem with that at all. I think all those guys are pretty much favored in games, so what can go wrong, they say. But in terms of that, I mean, I love that. I think for final thoughts for me, I think it's more about just appreciating every single person that comes on and shows us love and consistently shows up on our Tuesday shows, our Sunday shows. Like, we just appreciate you guys. If there's anything you guys want to see, any improvements on, or if anything else, feel free to hit us up on our DMs on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Let us know. Because again, we're always trying to grow, we're always trying to improve. If you have any sponsorships out there as well, you guys want to see that as well. There's stuff you guys want to see in that end, feel free to do so as well. Because we're definitely always looking to grow, always willing to listen, and always ready for some feedback. So with that being said, tune in next week. It's Tuesday, 2 days from now, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we got your waiver wire and your trade advice show as we get down to the nitty-gritty of your fantasy football teams, looking to help you guys win your championships on a weekly basis. We'll get you all covered up for bye weeks, for trade advices, for overall waiver wire additions to stay afloat and to stay ahead of your league mates. Until then, it goes Wilcox, Johnny Main, and we out. We'll see you guys Tuesday night. Peace.